I'm CraigO, and join me on my adventures with CraigO's cryptocurrency as we cover the blockchain, Web3, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. Interviewing the best in the industry, giving tips and tricks, and also sharing with you projects that I'm most excited about.
You're tuning into CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in the Web3 ethos, and just the general things Web3 related. I want to give a special thanks to those that are going to tune in today on YouTube, on Facebook, and most importantly, Twitter Spaces. Thank you guys for joining in. I'm really excited for today's show. So let's get right to it. Evan Mann is the co-founder of FACELESS and advisor at Kavari, co-host of Crypto Radio Network and the new Rising Up podcast. He's a thought leader in Web3, and his propensity to create compelling storyline is what I believe is his greatest strength. Being an effective communicator in Web3 is important to keep on top of the communities and engage while develop over the coming years is the utmost of importance. His core belief centers around kindness, which he sees as the ultimate growth hack. According to Evan, the most important thing to his contemporaries is to speak beyond the hype, the tech, and the speculation. His goal is to help people at all levels to understand why Web3 matters. Welcome, Evan Mann. Let's get to it, my friend.
Thanks so much for hosting me, brother. It's great to be here. I'm excited to have the chance to sit down and talk with you and share with everybody here on the show, on Twitter. It's a real honor.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an honor to have you here. We've been talking for quite some time. What really impressed me, not even just, creating the content, going through all of your social channels, is how consistent you are. But the other thing, we had our Define conference, and there were definitely some Wi-Fi connections, but how you handled yourself like a pro. You kept coming back in with a smile, and you actually at the end, maybe the last 20 minutes in, we're like, hey, Craig, we're going to time this. I know that the Wi-Fi is going to go out. I have a couple of important things to say. That to me, Evan, is the sign of a real pro. And so the things that I want to really dive in with you on, right, is there are three collections in your ecosystem of Faceless Many, which are the Corrupted, the Allies, and Faceless Many. Let's talk about this collection. How was it launched, and what was the idea around the launch itself? What is the core emphasis of Faceless Many as a NFT community?
The Faceless Many, at its start, is a collection of 8,064 characters who represent the hero in all of us, whose fictional story is a parallel to the real world unfolding right now. Everyday people learning about and leveraging the power of blockchain technology specifically to rise up and rewrite their financial future. It is the first initiative by Faceless Labs, which is like the umbrella over all of it. The founder of Faceless Labs, Mac Lorden, started creating content like I did a little bit ago, a couple years ago, around Web3, around helping people understand what it is, why it matters, and built a really wonderful community of people who were very genuine, were very selfless with their knowledge. It was not like, hey, you're into crypto, what's going to 100x this month? It was much more about conceptual knowledge, about asking your questions, sharing what you knew, everyone lifting the tide of the boat together. And Mac put out a call that was, I'd like to take Faceless, at that time it was Faceless Crypto, to the next level. And it was called Faceless because of this mission statement that we have, which is to lead the financial revolution and empower the faceless many. And as we were talking about how to make this vision a reality, we said, well, you know what we should really do is we should launch an NFT, because that will give every individual who believes in this mission, in this ethos, the opportunity to own their part of the story. Right. Something I want to emphasize is that all of us, the founders, really had this understanding of NFTs as a way to give tangible form to intangible things. Most of the value in the world is not tangible and is not fungible. It's your memories, it's your data, it's your experience. And we understood that NFTs give a way to codify that. And so we wanted to build a story container that every person could see themselves in. as one of the faceless many, even if you don't hold our NFT. And from there, we proceeded to build out this ecosystem. We've kind of moved through all the different Web3 offerings and experiences to demonstrate a better way for projects to deliver value, to deliver utility, to create fun experiences, which is something that we've continued as consultants. We have moved kind of throughout the space, and we really hope to bridge the gap to Web2 people, to help them without overwhelming them with technical knowledge, to find avenues to participate in blockchain, to participate in crypto and NFTs without having to get too mucked down or mired down in it. But that's the quick and dirty. That's the faceless many. And I'm happy to tell you about the allies and the corrupted too, but they're all evolutions of that same story of regular people rising up to rewrite a better future.
I love that. I love that. And one of the things that I found really most engaging, right, is you have fundamental and technical analysis. Something I talked to Matt Swayze from Matty's Metrics about is the technical component. But the component that I think is really important for me, or something that I've expanded upon, and something that you're really good at, is the fundamental, being able to tell the story. I mean, you're a professional trained actor, and I would say a master storyteller. How important has that been, right? Because we're in an opportunity market. I don't like the word bear, but it gives us time to assess what we're doing, what is the direction of Web3 and blockchain, right? Because you did a TikTok video where you said Web2 and Web3 they're the same thing. They're just the next evolution and up. So when you sit down to create, whether it's podcast content, which we're going to talk about, and you're also creating your NFT collections, how are you taking the story of something where, say, for instance, somebody just comes in and like, listen, I want to get into this project because I want it over time to make me money, to reward me, and I want to be part of a community that I believe in. How are you writing that story with, say, an investor mindset? When somebody's coming in from a standpoint of money only.
From a standpoint of money only, it's hard to say, because money is like the sword and the stone. If all you're really concerned about is accumulating a lot of money, you will probably never be rich. You must want to deliver value to people in order to create value for yourself in return. By not focusing on the dollars and cents, you actually generate a lot more value for everyone. And I guess in terms of how we approached it, correct me if I'm getting off the track of your question.
You're good.
But everything starts with a story. Everything is about an emotional decision. Most consumers, they buy things because of a reaction they have to it, whether it's a bottle of water or a car. It may be because it's, the cheapest or, the best. All of that is branding. All of it is storytelling.
Right.
And what I think is, in the world until now, we have relied on intermediaries, on big brands, on centralized authorities to tell stories to us. When you see Star Wars and experience the story of Star Wars, it happens from the top down. There is a script that 10 people write. There is a movie that 100 people act in, and you only get to experience the story when you go to the theater or when you buy a lightsaber at Target and make whooshing noises with your friends. You don't really have the opportunity to contribute to that story, to shape it, or to benefit from shaping it the way that those few people do. What NFTs do, specifically as a tool, is they enable a different kind of storytelling or brand building or business building that happens not from the top down, but from the bottom up. You create a rich container, like the story of the faceless many, all these people from space and time who are receiving transmissions, who have a mission, who have a quest to go on. And as people come to the pieces in the collection, some of them will be storytellers. Some of them will be painters. Some of them will be carpenters. Some of them will brew beer. All of those people, by doing what they do, but using their assets as they do it, will enhance the story. The best example I think I can think of right now that models what this economy might look like in the future is Jenkins the Valet. Are you familiar with Jenkins the Valet?
I am not.
Permit me to tell you, Jenkins the Valet is the name given to one of the NFT images in the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection. It was bought at the time of mint for a couple $100. It was common based on just the traits it had. But the guy who bought it saw he had a little waistcoat on, he had a little cap on, and he thought, oh, this is the valet of the Bored Apes Yacht Club. I'll call him Jenkins. He makes a Twitter profile for Jenkins the Valet and starts tweeting as if
Love
he
it.
is the valet of the Bored Apes Yacht Club and is going to tell you, the reader, all about the apes. Now, Jenkins has a Hollywood movie deal. He's launched a book that was authored by Neil Strauss and co-authored with the community members who bought NFTs specifically from Jenkins' new collection. It had nothing whatsoever to do with the Bored Apes. It had nothing to do with their founders, because somebody owned their part of the story. They could use that asset to build within the universe of the story. So that's what I mean when I say bottom-up storytelling.
And I'll tell you why, but I'll tell you why I asked this question, right? How many people have their wallets? They got into a project because someone said, hey, dude, you're going to want to get in this because it's money. And people just ran toward the money. Wait, then they come into your community and they realize, wow, this community is rich in thought, in storytelling, in execution. I'm glad I'm here now. Oops, I got in because of the money. But now that I'm here, and this is what I love about this opportunity market, it gives people a chance to open a book, listen to your incredible podcast, by the way, which we will talk about. That to me is powerful because people found themselves accidentally in your space. Go ahead.
I'm not sure what you're saying. You're saying, what do I think about that as a different way to do business?
Correct, because I had cut you off, and I just said, but wait a minute, I just need you to understand why I was asking that question.
So what I think is that a lot of people come to crypto for the money. I came to crypto initially as an investor because I saw it as another avenue to diversify my investments. But when I started to experience the teachings, learning about blockchain, what it could do beyond currency, that was really interesting to me. And I started to see all these other avenues for wealth, for autonomy, for creative control, for artistic freedom, et cetera, storytelling. And it was apparent to me that the money you might make in a transactional way was significantly less than the transformational potential to learn something in an emerging industry, to create a model for what that looks like. And from a holder perspective, an investor perspective, I do think there's a monetary incentive because let's take Faceless Many, for example. If Faceless Labs continues to grow and build and innovate and produce great products, those OG NFTs, that's like buying an initial share in our company. People will want to hold that because of its affiliation with our story. It is tangible form to this intangible value, the start of Faceless Labs. Or somebody might want to own that because of its provable lineage on the blockchain. I have a 1-for-1 NFT, the Scrivener. That is my character in the world of the Faceless Many, who is the best version of myself. This articulate, always knows what to say, brings a light to the people guy, the Scrivener.
Wait a minute. He's more articulate than you?
He is my most articulate self.
I love it.
At my best.
But you know is when we think about the idea around mass adoption, the reason I ask this question is a lot of people have come in. I can make money. I can make money. I can tell you at the very beginning that for me, I was like, okay, this is how I might be able to provide for my family. Crazy, I know. And then I fell in love with this space. I fell in love with what builders, founders, creators, podcasters were doing. And I am passionate about that. It's to the reason we have CraigO's Crypto Corner, the reason we have you on as a guest. And so what got you here won't keep you here. And what got me here is not why I'm here now. That's really the biggest focal point. I do want to talk to you about the founder and CEO of Faceless Many as well, which is Mac Lorden, who wants to focus on teaching retail investors how to leverage the crypto market to build wealth. What are some examples of what he does and why he does it?
So first of all, Mac is just a great leader. He is somebody who is concerned with fairness. He is not afraid to be challenged. He welcomes just dissenting opinions and is a very fair person. I really trust and admire him a lot. The first thing that Mac does is Mac is a content creator. He creates content that is very personable, mostly on TikTok, that helps people understand what's this crypto stuff, what's going on here, whether it's here's what staking is and 5 ways to do it, or here's what's happening with FTX this week. And he built this community that became Faceless Labs in Discord around this idea of sharing knowledge. So we believe that education should always be free and that community should never be behind a paywall. There are a lot of benefits to owning a Faceless Many NFT, but you don't need to buy anything to benefit from learning with us. And so that's really the first and foremost thing I think Mac does. And the second thing I would say is, as a leader of a company, he invests his time and his capital and helps direct our team towards projects that will model for everyday people a better way and give them avenues to participate.
I love that. And you guys have a really special bond, because when you have mutual respect and you have
Yeah.
descending opinions within a room, that's how magic happens. And that's what gets me bullish about
Yeah.
people and the communities, is it's how you're investing in the people that are creating and keeping the storyline. And one of the things that I really want to say on this podcast live is, I went through a lot of the stuff, and I check for things as simple as spelling errors. Couldn't find any. Not that I was looking hard. I also went through the consistency of your TikTok page. But by the way, I have over 50,000 followers. But it's not about the followers. For me, it's about how people are engaging and what they're engaging in. What I notice is the things that get most engagement aren't necessarily about Faceless Many. It's about educating people on just historical stories, like sort of when you asked about the story before. Do you know about this particular thing? I'm like, no, I want to know more. So after my podcast, selfishly for me, I go back and I listen to the things that you have said. One of the things that I want to do, and Tony, if we can, I want to queue up. I was going to say screw up. Queue up.
Don't screw it up, man.
I won't. I look forward to feeling nervous again. All right. So the Faceless Many, I want to just show the screen share on this incredible platform. It's really well done. It's articulated incredibly well between collections, staking, marketplace, the blog, the team, and the frequently asked questions, which really went in depth. Tell me a little bit about the marketplace and staking. I just want to talk a little bit about those two things.
Yeah. So what we do with the Faceless Many is, this is a long-term vision of Faceless Labs. We are working to fulfill a vision for a different kind of economy, the revolution, we call it, the financial revolution. What does that look like? How does it happen? It's not just buying an NFT and selling it for more than you paid for it.
Right.
Our kind of hole-in-one solution is this concept that your NFT, simply by holding it, generates something called rev points, which are like a raffle ticket at a carnival. They don't have any monetary value, or like a flyer mile or a credit card point. But we're working to build a marketplace where those points can be exchanged for virtually anything. I think of it as an everything store for Web3. And obviously it's not like that right now, but we are working to iterate and build out a model that every NFT community can use everywhere, where customers will not just look for products and buy from the vendor who has it the cheapest or who is the closest to them. That's how we shop right now.
Right.
But what NFTs are going to do for us, because of this sort of community factor, this identity factor, this ability to give tangible form to intangible things like a shared value,
right,
is consumers are going to shift from which product should I buy to what do I believe and which brands will help me express it. So we're working to build a marketplace where communities, NFT communities or artists or businesses, can come and based on the values that they espouse, can find each other. And so that a company like Nike can find a partner like the Bored Apes, whose community of 10,000 people are highly engaged, who love streetwear, who love all the things that they love, versus trying to put out $1,000 on Facebook and hoping you can get a man who's 50 to 55. That's so imprecise, and it's so unethical. NFTs are public. You don't even have to know my name to know that I am a member of the Bored Apes Yacht Club. It's all totally available data, but it's valuable to you as a brand. It's valuable to me as a consumer that a brand would see that. And I think it will level out the playing field for big brands and small brands. It's hard for small brands to compete with big brands right now when they can't outspend them. But if we can create a mechanism where they can discover customers by their values, that'll be a much bigger win for them and for customers.
Yeah, and by the way, you're not only a guest today, but you're a contest giveaway sponsor. And one of the things that I wanted to mention in the marketplace is that you're going to be giving away, I believe, there's a pick of 3, and we'll go through that in a little bit, not right now. But one of them is 25,000 rev points, and if I'm correct, one eGold voucher.
That's right.
If I'm seeing correctly, is 20,000 points. So you're giving away one eGold plus 5,000 extra rev points, or they'll get to pick one of the NFTs. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I thought it was a really cool store, how you're creating the products around the rev points. So you're actually giving relevant utility to your community. So you're building in that ecosystem, which I thought was phenomenal. So one of the other people that I did want to talk to you about was Alex, who's another partner in the Faceless. And he believes sort of the world is going to be about the financial revolution, sort of the same thing that you feel as well. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, Alex really came to crypto because he was disenfranchised with the traditional system. He had accumulated, he tells a story often, a non-significant or a not insignificant amount of money in a savings account. He had invested money, but it wasn't earning him anything. It wasn't doing anything for him. And so, like all of us, he came to crypto because he saw the potential for blockchain to remove intermediaries, to stop people who aren't doing work from getting their cut. And Alex is just Alex is probably the guy who, if I got sick and needed to give somebody my seed phrases, like for my family or something, I would definitely give them to Alex. And I would just say for anybody on the team, and that's one of the hugest advantages that money can't buy, that I'm so grateful to have, so blessed and privileged to have. Everyone in our company was friends before we started a company. We trust each other implicitly. We spent time together in person. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs in the market, in our own building experience. I just can't imagine being a founder who has to like find somebody on Fiverr to dev my contract. That would be terrifying to me. And
That's
Alex,
scary.
Mac, all of them, but especially Alex. Alex, I would say, has just commendable integrity. I trust everyone on our team, but if I
Yeah.
had to shout out Alex and
And
give
by
him
the
a
way,
rose, I would say I'd trust him with my life.
your team is big. I mean, these are
Yeah.
just a few people that I wanted to mention, but the profiles were all great. It really spoke to not only them as professionals, but also in the way of what they're doing in this space specifically. And that to me was very impressive. You know, one of the things that I did want to talk to you about, but you already hit it out of the park. You know, the theme of Faceless Many, right, is the hero in all of us. And I feel like the thing that I'm seeing across projects that get me excited when I believe it's authentic, like what you're doing, is to be a hero, is to help other people, is to be open to dialogue, difference of opinions. I like that in the room. I enjoy that because that to me is human beings not all thinking the same, but respecting and showing empathy and understanding and kindness. And that's one of the things at the highest level you do. And the perfect example was as we had mentioned before, was the Define conference, which was phenomenal. And you still were shining a bright light, and you still drop knowledge. I mean, it was funny. After the conference, I looked at Easton and I said to him, Easton Gladney from X First, and I said, wow. I said, he wasn't even phased. I mean, I might have needed to readjust and be like, at a certain point, I might have, not to say give up, because I'm here doing this.
Sure.
But to me, it was just you kept coming through and you were consistent. And if that's the leaders and the founders and the project creators and the storytellers, how can you not be excited about that? Those are the things that I look for when we talk about technical analysis. The fundamental analysis, there's the technical side of it, is what is someone's consistency to show up? All right, so what in the next 5 years does Faceless Many look like? What does it look like? How does it breathe? You know, tell me a little bit about how your place is maybe in the metaverse, air quotes.
Yeah. So I see it as an expansion of this marketplace model. We've already seen with companies like Starbucks that NFTs are great for loyalty, are a great way to track who your most valuable customers are and to reward them and build a deeper relationship with them and draw more people to your brand.
Right.
So we're really interested in building out a marketplace that does this better than Web 2 marketplaces do. The marketplace I mentioned earlier. We will work with Web 3 and Web 2 native brands to help them build NFT collections around what their value propositions are. We're not really interested in just, giving you an NFT because it's hot and trendy right now. We want to make it something that will model for other people what that looks like. And I see that some competition is emerging for that, but we really hope to be a global a platform where people can come and learn, first of all, from our podcast, from videos, from courses that we offer, ebooks, things like that, mostly for free, where people can consult with Faceless Labs, whether they're a Web 2 or Web 3 business, to build something great on the blockchain, where individual consumers and brands can come to connect with each other better in ways that generate more value, whether it's loyalty, rewards, on-chain surprises and delights. And I expect that we will continue launching other collections on multiple blockchains as we have the need to do so, by which I mean not necessarily, oh, we got to make some money, let's sell an NFT, but we have this really interesting concept that just won't get out of our minds. We have got to bring it to life. Let's do it this way. Most of our ideas start out like that. Like somebody's got a stupid idea. I'll tell you, when I had one the other day, I said to the guys, this is probably 2.5 months ago, I said, you know, what if we had an NFT, just one token, and we tried to set the world record for the most NFT holders? There are, by varying accounts, around 100,000 wallets trading NFTs, and only 10,000 of them are active. What if we had an NFT that we could attach it to a Google form kind of thing? You go to this website, fill out this Google form, and we're going to set a world record for the NFT held by the most people. You fill out the form and put it in the smart contract that automatically every 30 seconds, the NFT is transferred to a new holder. In 1 year, you could hit 1 million people, and they wouldn't have to do anything. They could maybe just provide an email address. We would create a wallet for them. It could be non-custodial. You could do thing where, depending on what your wallet address is, the metadata reveals a different image. And it would just be such a cool way to say, hey, there are now 1 million people in the NFT space. It's not a cash grab. It's not a flip. Nobody really owns it for more than the time that's there. But then you've got this great story that lives on the blockchain forever of all million of us. And Evan was the first one to own it, and Craig was the last one to own it. And you could sell it to a museum someday. Just it's a silly idea, but it's kind of a cool idea. And then we talk about those things and give them shape.
Yeah, and I think it really goes down to the ability to be able to manipulate the metadata on a smart contract. And they were actually there are artists right now that are actually doing that with their community. And it's a great way to engage, right? And so we're going to talk about some of those contests that you've held before today's, having nothing to do with today's contest. One of the things I wanted to come back to, because I find it really fascinating, I always think for every good NFT community, they should have some type of utility token that is tied. And it does two things. One, it keeps you engaged and it keeps you learning. If you're not learning from your community, reassess where you are. It's my only thought, and never FUD. The second thing I would say is I like when people are rewarded for holding intelligently, not hold on for dear life, no hodl. But what I want to understand from you is tell me a little bit more about the REB token, because obviously it is a utility token within the Faceless Many ecosystem. How did that come about, and how many tokens are there, and who holds the most tokens? Not specific by name, but tell me a little bit about that.
So the first thing to understand is that Rev points are not an on-chain token. They are something that it's a Web 2 solution right now. Because it's cheapest to do it that way, because tokenomics is really difficult when you architect a token. The first mistake I see many people make is they ask their token to do too many things at once. It's a currency that people can buy and sell. It's a governance mechanism. It's a loyalty reward, all these kind of competing incentives that are sometimes misaligned. So it's off chain. There is an infinite supply right now. And they're just generated daily based on how many TFMs are in a wallet in existence. You get 100 rev points per TFM per day. So there are some ally NFTs that earn 500 rev points a day. And I think the largest wallet has a couple million rev points.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
It's cool. And one of the challenges for us is we fund the rev points marketplace through partnerships with people who want their things in our store. We fund it through revenue that we get through consulting, through other products, that kind of stuff. But the ultimate goal is to have brands coming to us to say, I want to give away this in the marketplace. I want to sell this in the marketplace, and create more opportunities. We don't have anything that costs 1 million rev points right now, but we're trying to be thoughtful about putting it in place so that it doesn't become a valueless thing or a huge cost to us.
Right. No, I think you also just talked about that merge, right? Web 2 to Web 3, or Web 3 to Web 2, and they're all the same. But you just mentioned something that I think is really phenomenal. And I think I don't want to say after FTX, but after the bad press, right? Because everybody assumes that this is connected to everything in the blockchain. By the way, multiple blockchains. I had a friend that said to me, Craig, I heard that crypto is filing for Chapter 11. I said, only if it was that easy, right? That's a good tweet of the day. I actually told Ralph Quintero from the Daily Ralph, I said, you need to put that tweet on your Daily Ralph newsletter. But it brings to a bigger point, right? It brings to a bigger point that, when I think about on-chain monkeys, I had Amanda Terry, who's the chief operating officer on, and they have their bananas. They're fungible bananas. They're offline. You connect to Discord and your Twitter, and you get these fungible bananas. And then what you can do is purchase their products. And it's very similar to what you're doing. What you're doing is you're setting up something that has an unlimited supply. I kind of figured when I asked this question that it wouldn't be what everyone else is doing. But what I like about the Rev Points, and now that you've articulated that, I really like the fact that you're simplifying the value offer right now, but long term, here's our game plan. And I really, really enjoy that. And I really appreciate the transparency. So let me throw to the next conversation piece. As regulations for crypto and NFTs are inevitable, right? Because now the government can put on their superhero cape after FTX and fly in and save the world. Do you think that project founders will be dealing with the same issues around price fixing? Not intentional, but unintentional. Do you think NFT communities at large, especially the ones that are successful, what do you think they're going to be dealing with going, hey, guys, what about this past stuff you were doing? Wait a minute. You hadn't even designated a rule or a law. Now you want to go back to the starting line?
I'm not sure, Craig. Can you clarify what you mean by price fixing?
Yeah. So in a short sense, right? Not specifically to price fixing, but say, for instance, someone's offering out a utility token or they're doing giveaways or you've given away, let's use an example. Like I have 20,000 Rev Points and now I redeem it for eGold. When now eGold, I hold that and now I transfer it to cash. The government hasn't even figured out what they're going to do. So I don't even say price fixing. I just mean in general, the context of how you operate a Web3 business with no specific guidance right now from the government because they're figuring things out. I want to be fair. How do you think that's going to affect solidified communities such as yours that are successful at what they're doing?
So let me push back on this idea that there's no guidance. While we need more guidance and we need guidance that is helpful to us and addresses how specifically these technologies and tools are different than what we have, there is guidance in place that we can look to that everybody who aspires to lead a project or is a founder presently should consult with a lawyer and an accountant about. I cannot stress this enough. If you don't have the money right now to buy a lawyer, you shouldn't be a founder in this space because there are just too many risks. If you're saving money before you go out and pay a lawyer, you can use a lot of free resources to help you. We had a fantastic interview on Rising Up with our CPA, with our lawyer, and you can look around Twitter to find people who are lawyers. You can look up things like the Howey test. I would highly recommend it.
To see if something is deemed as securities.
Absolutely. Gary Gensler does a fantastic course about blockchain that talks a lot about securities and legal frameworks as they stand. It's free online. I think he did it for MIT.
Right.
But what I would say is, in terms of the future, as we're thinking about, what's going to happen, it's really important to mitigate risk any way you possibly can. So with Rev Points, yes, you can redeem Rev Points for a voucher that is tied to eGold. But you cannot redeem Rev Points directly for eGold, and you cannot earn a currency that has monetary value by the activities of others within our ecosystem. Right. We did that to make it not a security. We do plan to release fungible tokens someday, and they will probably be liquid. Some of them might be like not liquid, but have a governance value. And our plan is, of course, just to continue consulting with our lawyer, to continue educating ourselves so that as we do those things, they are as up to date as they can possibly be. And I wonder, Craig, can I just, maybe for your listeners, I feel like a lot of people here know crypto, they're kind of into it, but in case someone's not, can I just give a quick story example that might illustrate why we're concerned about this?
Please.
So if a regulatory body like the SEC finds out or decides that your offering is a security or is a risk to investors in some other way, they can do a couple of things to you. They can fine you, which for a lot of projects is something they're anticipating. BlockFi is a good example because of the way they structured their credit card. They raised a ton of money anticipating that they might be fined along the way. Great. But the other real problem, especially for NFT collections, is you might be made to recompensate your investors, pay them back what they paid you when they bought their NFT. And you might be forced to delist by marketplaces who don't want anything to do with your It's a security risky asset. And a practical reason why this should deter you, let's look at the Bored Apes Yacht Club. They're currently in a sort of a lawsuit right now, and I'm not trying to FUD them at all.
No,
I think they're doing as
good.
good a job as anybody can. But if the SEC or someone else finds that they are a security, then what's going to happen is they might get a fine. Okay, great. They've got the money. They might have to pay back their investors. This is a problem. If you bought a Bored Ape on mint day, you paid a couple $100. Your asset now is worth tens of thousands of dollars. And if you built a brand around it, it's priceless. And all you're going to get back for that is a couple $100, and you're not going to be able to use that asset anywhere because it's going to get delisted. No one's going to want it. It would be a huge crisis for holders, a huge crisis for the founders. And that's why this kind of thing is so important to consider. You can't just have a mindset of, oh, the regulators, they're so far behind us. Let's just, got to de-risk, got to talk to a lawyer.
By the way, this is why I asked that question, because I knew that you would be able to unpack that in such a way that now people can articulate it even further. The only thing I might push back on just a little bit, and then I do want to talk about the Rising Up podcast. I was impressed, and it's actually going to be on one of my saved favorites. But one of the things that I would push back on is I still feel that you make a lot of great points, but I still feel like the government is still going to mess with people. And I'm not anti-government. I'm for regulations as long as they're responsible. I'm for transparency so long as it's fair. The fair is the balance part, and that's sort of the defining where we define it on our own or communities do. But the reason that I say is that sometimes things that you might not deem fair, and it's great, talk to your accountant, talk to your attorney. If you can't afford attorney, there's free information out there, but maybe it's not the time for you to launch your story on the blockchain to a community. I mean, it takes a lot of thought, and there was a lot of thought put behind what you do. Tony, I do want to queue up a quick screen share on Rising Up. I want to talk to you a little bit about one of, I believe, two of your podcasts. So tell me about Rising Up. I did start to listen to some of these, but, the Ryan Carson interview, I thought was a really good one. Tell me a little bit about how you've picked the content that you are going to discuss. I mean, as we can see, it is like my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Tell me a little bit about
YouTube too.
And on YouTube. So tell me a little bit about how Rising Up came to be.
So we always wanted to do a podcast. I'm a first career actor, and somebody could pay me $1 million an hour to go hang a poster or to go talk to people. And I bet you can guess which one is going to give them a better return on their investment. I'm really very passionate about curating conversations for people at all levels of experience. All of us are. And we wanted to create a show that will have, a couple different iterations, different kinds of formats, like it's our team talking, or usually it's us interviewing a guest or two. And the concept is we're taking you behind the scenes of Web3. We go to these conferences, we meet these people. Sometimes we're sitting in a meeting where there's $1 million deal being done, and another time we're in a penthouse somewhere or behind a restaurant in the parking lot at 4 a.m. playing music with people. Just some of the wildest, craziest things that if you had the opportunity to experience for yourself, you would say, oh my gosh, this crypto thing is about so much more than money. Look at this. It's about culture. It's about diversity. And the show is really geared towards people who maybe already dabble or have some basic proficient understanding about crypto, to kind of give them a glimpse into the minds of some of the movers and shakers building the future, so that folks can feel like they're in the room hanging out with us. That was really the goal. And especially to talk to people who you want to hear from, folks like Ryan Carson or Evan McMullen, the CEO of Disco, or our lawyer, Andrew, who's been in the space for decades. We've got an episode coming out Friday with William Quigley, who is the co-founder of Tether and the Wax blockchain. Huge history in the space. He's been doing this for decades. So that's really our goal. But also, I would love to have an episode where we've got your grandma on and she's like, okay, how do I do this again? I think that would be so fun. Or, an episode that's like a drinking game, or I don't know, just It's fun. It's educational. It's engaging. I think there's kind of a dearth of that kind of content in this space right now. People who are too technical or who don't have the kind of storytelling or communication experience. It's hospitality. I don't know.
There's never a moment where I'm not learning in this space. How did you guys pick Multiverse X, which was formerly named Elrond? Wow, it took me a second. I was going to say Enron, but formerly named. They did the renaming. So two quick things. First is, Multiverse X, do you like the naming? What's your thought there? And why was this the blockchain that you guys decided to launch your NFT communities on?
Before I answer that, I want to shout out anybody listening and say that the first person to make a shirt that says the blockchain formerly known as Elrond, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I don't really have an opinion on the name change. I think from a branding perspective, better to do it now than later. It's a very broad net that they're casting, and I think it probably aligns more closely with what their future goals are. Yeah. I would say that for choosing Elrond, I still call it Elrond. I have a terrible habit, Multiverse X. We had some exposure to it as investors and saw that the NFT ecosystem there was nascent. There was like nobody. And we liked the user experience. We liked the vision of the team, the kind of products they had released. And we felt it was either going to make us look like geniuses or fools. The idea was to be a big fish in a small pond. There wasn't as much competition, and there were just a lot of other advantages. It's truly carbon neutral. It's fast. It's cheap as hell. And so it's easy to scale. Plus, we had some talks with developers and the flexibility of it. There's not as much documentation on Elrond, whereas on Ethereum, there's pretty much a pattern for about anything you'd want to do. But it is, it's composable. It's interoperable.
And I love the Maya wallet. I really like a lot of the marketplaces. I don't want to be specific on them. You got XONO, you've got, Dead Rare, you've got Frame It. We had Eddie on our podcast. I really
love him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a great guy, and that was a great conversation. And doing it technical, he really did a great job of explaining some of those things. He was on months ago. My group remembers that. So one of the things that I wanted to say is, before I came on the podcast, I've connected a lot in Elrond, and I feel like Multiverse X is a very supportive NFT community to one another. Meaning each community supports each other, the community or the project people. And someone said something positive about you. I mean, that's just wrong. That is just wrong. So it was actually Harry over at Combase. He thinks very highly of you and the Faceless Many family. So he wanted to give a quick shout out.
Love Harry.
For that love, I just said, you know what? Combase, they are builders and consultants who make projects, visions of reality on the blockchain and bring Web3 to Web2 through Shopify. So Tony, I just do want to do a quick screen share just to give them a little love since they said something nice about today's amazing guest. So guys, go check out Combase. Please feel free to follow and subscribe to what they're doing. We can come off of that screen share. So big shout out over to Harry over at Combase. Again, he's a really genuine guy. He said you love the sound of his voice. He's got a nice English accent.
He's got an accent that's wonderful to listen to. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, Harry. You're gonna have to.
I don't know. That wasn't a really good Harry. That was just like a general English guy. I could probably get a Harry impression if I worked on it.
One of the things I actually want to do, and for anybody that after will tune in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to listen to this, is you can go back in and see the YouTube version of it. I do want to do a quick screen share because I do want to talk to you about some of the engagement contests, because I think engagement and community support is incredibly important. I've had guests on in the past who I don't want to say FUD it, but they're a little more pessimistic and they've got some really strong brands. They're like, yeah, I don't do contests. I love showing love to my community. I don't need somebody to give me something when they come on my podcast in lieu of coming on. I come on because I love this space. I want to continue to grow my knowledge base, and I want to continue to provide massive value to grow the podcast. But let's do that quick screen share, Tony, because I want to talk about this contest that you actually did in October 31st of this year. And tell me a little bit about how you launched this contest. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, the Road to 10 E-Gold initiative. Yeah.
Tell me about this. Uh-oh. Hold on one second, Evan. It looks like your mic.
Oh no, it was me. I'm sorry. I tapped it a second ago because I was dealing with a barking dog. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, good. So the Road to 10 E-Gold is an initiative that we started just to increase activity, to generate interest from newcomers, and to spread this idea that really, truly, when you are a holder of an NFT, you as the holders control the floor.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, I've got a barky dog
You're
here.
Good.
This is Lucy saying hi, talking about her buying strategy.
Hi, Lucy. What's your favorite NFT? I know it.
She's a Crypto Pits fan for sure.
Steve Rotman, that's my guy right there. Another guy who speaks highly of you.
Yeah. Oh, they're great. But the concept is you know, it's not hard for us to generate excitement when we are interested in what we're doing. And these are just a series of initiatives that can generate interest among our holders by rewarding them for their activity, that can draw new eyes to our collection. And that's the kind of thing that will just benefit all of us. And we have this hairy goal of, we believe our NFTs are at least as valuable as 10 e-gold. I mean, at the time of mint, they were almost worth what 5 e-gold is worth now,
Right.
But we have just delivered a lot of value. We've attracted a wonderful community of people who are so selfless with their time, with their knowledge, who've contributed to make our story great. And we want our price to reflect that, not because we want to exclude people from it, but because we want to generate that kind of value together. And we also just think it's a fun way for people to play with our story. So you'll notice the initiatives are kind of different every week. We're going to have one soon around the podcast where your entry to the contest to win these prizes and help us raise the floor price is going to be based around listening to podcast episodes, finding a clue in this one or that one, which will benefit us because increased watch time will lead to revenue, will lead to better guests, will lead to sponsorships, all of which brings money to the community that we can share with them through things like the marketplace.
And that's why it is so important to see founders that are fully immersed in what they're doing. And I mean, you this is your full time. This is what you spend all your time developing, creating, storytelling, having great partners. That to me is it's priceless. What is the problem with Web 2 that we might not have in Web 3? So when you look at Web 2, what do you think the one thing that we're going to be able to check off once we're fully adopted and everything, products, services, everything is Web3. Your gym membership is an NFT, or maybe it's an SFT because it doesn't have any unique traits or value. What is the one thing that you think Web3 is going to solve that Web2 has not been able to do yet?
I just think it's going to be a better model to align incentives, to share thoughts and feelings, and to give tangible form to intangible things. I think it's going to make, I see all technology mostly as innovations in communication. Humans have this unique problem where we can think about things outside this present moment. So far as we know, the trees don't do that. The animals don't do that. And we, because of this, can talk to each other and construct mythical ideas like money or language, space and time, all of these socially constructed things. And every innovation in technology has just been an innovation making it easier to do that. Language is the biggest one. It is so much easier now for me to get this thought into your head with a word like Christmas tree. You know what I'm talking about. Money is another one. A $10 bill means I don't have to haggle with you at the store over the price of a t-shirt. And similarly, NFTs, tokens, and blockchains facilitated by smart contracts are going to remove so much friction in most of the transactions that we do day to day, whether they're monetary or not. I think that's the big picture. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
The ease of use and actually everything being more easily bridged is sort of the only add-on that I would say is that I think you're going to go into one site versus multiples and everything's going to seem more seamless. And I think that's one of the things that you speak to. I do want to do another quick screen share because I want to talk to you about the New Era by Web3 podcast, Web3 Connect podcast. I want to talk to you a little bit about that podcast. How come two different ones? What's the difference and what's the similarity?
You mean I think you may have misspoke, not to pick on you, but the Web3, this one, sorry. I was thinking Web3 Connect by A16Z. I was like, I've never been on that show, but I would love to be. This is not my show. This is a show I was a guest on where I was very graciously given some time to unpack in conversation some of my thoughts about why NFTs matter to everyday people.
Got it. For some reason, I had in my mind, right? Because I'm doing down all the stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, you got a big list, man. You did your homework.
Oh yeah, I did. But thank you. But obviously I missed this one. So I'm actually going to listen to this one because I just like how it read, what it specifically spoke to. Because again, whenever you're speaking about these things, to me, my teachers, and you are actually indirectly one of them, you articulate things in a way where I'm like, okay, now I understand it. I can process it. Now I can come on to my platforms and then share that with more people. And then the word gets out. So I appreciate the clarity and transparency to the things that you discuss.
Let me tell you, Craig, that's going to be an episode then. It wasn't my fault. The stars just aligned and I got lucky that day. That is definitely an hour of content where we talk about some really big ideas. And I listened back to it and I was like, oh, I managed to make that pretty clear. I was really grateful to them. I think it's got a lot of good. I love what you said about that. I have so many, everyone is my teacher. And if I'm in the right place to receive what they share, people are just changing my life left and right. I steal things constantly in terms of refining the way I explain stuff. So thank you for saying that. It's the highest compliment.
Absolutely. And I did also see that Crypto Radio Network was in your, is that partly you?
Yeah. So I'm a producing co-host of Crypto Radio Network,
Yep.
which is the founder of Crypto Radio Network, Sal DeGuardia, is a radio veteran, done radio for decades. And there are actually in the United States, 280 million people who listen to FM or AM radio on a weekly basis. Most of them have been misinformed, uninformed, or know nothing about Web3. So this show is designed to give them a safe, soft entry point to help them understand what's really going on here and why crypto might matter to them personally. We break down conversations with guests every week in the space and try to help people just, not feel overwhelmed. Learning blockchain can be like drinking from a fire hose. So Crypto Radio Network kind of slows it down, unpacks it every week, gives you some cool stories, some cool interviews. And me, my co-hosts, Sal and Matt, are like your friends in the space who are going to make sure you don't feel overwhelmed. It's a lot of fun. We do it every Saturday. We're on a break right now until the new year, but we've got about 30 episodes. Some of them might not be up, but it's the same kind of thing on Spotify, whatever. Whereas Rising Up is more like you're into crypto and you want to go behind the scenes with us to get in the room with some of these cool people.
Yep.
This one is much more like get in the room with these cool people, but it's Web3 101.
Okay. I love it. One of the things that I do want to go to right now and is the contest that you did in lieu of, you reached out to me and you're like, hey, can I do a contest? I'm like, I would love that. So I want to talk about this contest. Tony, if you can do a quick screen share. So as of today's space, Evan Mann's going to choose one winner to receive their choice of the Faceless Many NFT. That's either one or one corrupted NFT, which I want to talk a little bit about after this contest. And then 25K in rev points. To win, join the spaces below, subscribe to Faceless Many and CraigO's Crypto Corner on YouTube. The links are below. Please subscribe and follow what we're doing in the space. So, Evan, I'm looking right now at my Twitter spaces and I just was pulling it up just Queen. So I see that there are a handful of people on that spaces. If you want to hop in and if you want to pick a winner, you can. And then I'm going to talk about the contest that I'm running separate from you, but together they need to do some of the similar things as well.
Yeah, sure. What I've done too, folks in the Twitter space, hello everybody, it's so good to be here with you, is I've pinned this tweet to the top in case you haven't had a chance to enter yet. And frankly, Craig, what I was kind of hoping to do is maybe take a snapshot and then go back later, because I don't know who's followed you. I don't know who's followed, Faceless Labs, and I want to be fair to everybody. I don't want to just pick a winner in good faith, because, we've done that before and people are like, oh, so-and-so didn't subscribe, So plus I know a lot of people here are subscribed already, so I'd love to give somebody new a chance to win. So this is your chance. Check the pinned tweet at the top of the space, the link to Craig's YouTube, the link to the Faceless Labs YouTube. They're both there. I'm going to take a snapshot. Let's say, I don't know. I'll take one in like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
So that
Give
way,
people a chance to fill it out.
People in. We just want to get people to check out this great content and subscribe.
And then I will follow up after and contact the winner. I will use a random number to generate it. You can trust me. If you don't trust me, I'll take a screenshot or whatever. It'll be simple and easy.
Evan, I trust you. One of the things that I will say is definitely tag me in it, because I always just like to congratulate that person. I feel like that's a way to show love in this space, and love is needed, by the way. I want to just do my quick contest giveaway, which I'm not going to be announcing tomorrow until Thanksgiving. So something that more people can be grateful for. But X First, which is a project launch from Matt, Don, and Easton. I've been talking to them for the better part of a year. These are three great guys. And by the way, they give you a special shout out as well. Great news. Elron First has granted a blacklist for both Craig Oshrin and CraigO's Crypto Corner for the giveaway. And so I actually have 4 of them, but I'm going to be giving away one of these SFTs, which will grant access to the blacklist. So it's a great NFT collection that is launching. I'm most excited, like about you, Evan. I don't look at the art anymore. Don't really care unless it's an artist that I'm going for, like Dario from Rotten Antisocial Club. Love what he's doing in the space. We're actually connecting in a few weeks. But for me, what I'm looking at are people who are consistent in the space, as we said, transparent, intelligent, willing to say, hey, I don't know. And also on podcasts, being willing to push back on any questions that I ask to set their own foundation. That to me is very important. So I'm going to be giving away one SFT tomorrow. You know, Evan, we covered a lot, and it's been an honor to have you on. One of the things that I'm wondering right now is, what's the last thing that we can leave people on? Because I feel it was a really good education. One of the things that I was glad to talk about was that Rev token, to understand how it works, how you're applying Web 2 capability, how you see Web 2 and Web 3 merging together. What's the one issue that Web 2 will solve for Web 3, which I think will be, I think maybe more transparency because it's all on the blockchain. And then I think it also excites people. Maybe there's one thing I want to ask you, and then maybe you could throw a question at me if you so want. What are your thoughts around FTX and centralized platforms? Are they needed? Are they the holy grail for entering into this space? Or are you like, nah, we'll figure out a way? What are your thoughts around that? That's my question to you, my last question of the day.
I don't think they're needed, but I think they have a helpful role to play potentially. I think with proper regulation, easy to vet companies can provide a helpful framework for everyday people to interface with blockchain that is more user-friendly than most DeFi protocols are right now. But I also think that most DeFi protocols will evolve, that it will be easier to turn your fiat into crypto, to be your own custodian, and to enjoy the benefits of decentralization without all the risks that we see right now. The number one concern that people have about crypto is this a scam? In terms of FTX or Celsius, all of it, whatever they're investing in, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. That's the number one question in their minds. And that's a hurdle we've got to overcome. And the second hurdle we've got to overcome is really user experience. I say it as telling a better story, because if even our people, like the degens, don't have cold wallets, are getting phished, are leaving their money on centralized exchanges, that tells me that the process is still too hard, and we really aren't ready to welcome new people who may not be as prepared into the space. So I don't know that they're unnecessary. I said that in a TikTok video the other day. I was mostly iterating a hot take that I got from our friend Neil, who's listening in. But I do agree that there is a path forward where we are not so dependent on them, where they cannot take advantage of us.
I love that. And I agree with you completely. I feel safe on Coinbase, but who knows? We had a guest on some weeks back. I don't want to be too specific. They were very bullish on one of their centralized platforms. And then we just find out they're $2.8 billion in needing liquidity to keep what they're doing going. So there were some bad decisions possibly made there. And so I look at it as not your keys, not your crypto. And I like to keep my stuff on my wallets. And then obviously the things that I would hold dear and sacred in my cold wallet where I don't connect at all. So I'm going to reverse the role on you real quick. Do you have any questions as we're ending out this great, I believe, informational podcast?
Yeah. I'm glad it was great. You were very thorough in your preparation. We covered a lot of ground. I would say, I always like to ask people about what they see as the future. Just like you said, you like to hear teachers articulate a thing and then explain it that way yourself. What is something that you see for the future? Maybe a light bulb that's gone off for you that's helped you grasp how this is going to be so much more than you said. You saw it as a transactional thing at first, as about making money, and then the doorway opened, the light bulb went off. So what's a light bulb you've had recently and think might be helpful for somebody like me? I would love to hear it from you.
I think for me, it's challenging myself where I'm weak, right? So it's great to have people around me who are very good with technical analysis, that actually can read charts, that can explain and articulate stock charts, that can explain financial history, to me, I'm very fascinated with that because the component of having a business. So every NFT community that launches is a business. You could, oh, it's a Web3, but it's a business. It's generating some type of monetary gain, which is good. And if they can do good in the world and great for their holders, that to me is like the ultimate of a win-win. And I say it's challenging myself where I'm weak, coming on, replaying my podcasts, looking at what is it that I don't know? How can I improve on what I'm doing? How can I enunciate or articulate myself in a manner that connects with more people authentically? So those are maybe 2 or 3 of the things that to me is really relevant right now at this very moment at the end of 2022.
Yeah, man, you're working really hard on it. Is that something I can support you in? Are
Yeah.
you, I've watched a couple of your episodes and we're friends, man. So if that's something I can help you with, every time I make a public appearance or I speak publicly, I review it. And I have spent a lot of time just, critiquing myself. I think that's one of the most valuable things you can do.
I'll give you a perfect example. So when I do my intro, I did your intro a little fast. And so now I go back to that and I say, okay, here's where I can practice. Or when I have my dialogue on or my monologue on my computer, I can then look at it and I can then split it out even further and space it. And then I highlight
Sure.
certain words. And then I look back and I'll say, okay, was this a question that was relevant for that guest? Okay, now you have a new guest coming on that has a similar place in the space, not exact. What kind of questions can you bring them that were different from your current guests? It's always like bettering up. And I think as far as helping me is me helping you. We're in the space together. I love feedback. I love it public and I also like it private as well. It depends on what the feedback is.
Sure.
But I feel like, I'm always in the DM. We have each other's cell phone numbers, so we're always able to connect. But I want to continue to support your growth, Mac's growth, Alex's growth, and the whole team over at Faceless Many. And I love what you do and how you represent. But my first real big impression was actually at the Define Art Conference here at the Knowlton in Bridgeport. Big shout out to my team, Downtime TV, for all the great work they do. But my impression, was how you got on that screen and how you managed when the connection of Wi-Fi or technical connection wasn't great, and how you kept coming back and how you timed out those great points that you wanted to make. And to me, that says that's somebody that's professional, well prepared, and can communicate at the highest level. So I'm just honored, man. I'm just blown away that I get to have you here today and have you as a guest.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother. And like you said, we're connected, man. It's always an honor to have conversations in public, to lift up, more than helping me. I love that I see you active in everybody's chats and everybody's page. You really are a good friend to a lot of people that I would consider, friends and community members. I really don't need much of anything, but to see a guy who, is going out and helping everybody do that makes my life easier, because then there's less for me to do. And I am like, oh, here's a brother to my spirit. We're rising up, everybody together. I love that.
Hey,
you want me to take a snapshot real quick?
You can.
Okay?
I'm gonna pick my winner tomorrow at random. I've given some contest rules. I always try to follow them as close as I can. And I love everybody who's tuning in on Twitter Spaces and also YouTube and Facebook. Get them to interact with both of our communities. I think that's super, super important. Yeah, you can definitely do the snapshot. And Evan, this was like truly an honor. Stay tuned for after, and we'll just connect for a few minutes.
That's great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I've taken a snapshot of the folks who are in the space. Go like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things in that pin post there, and we'll get somebody a fabulous prize. Thank you for hosting me, Craig. I really, really appreciate it.
My honor. Thank you so much for watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. CraigO signing off.